So a lot of news happening in immigration. Um, Yesterday, immigration said that they were going to start hiring officers who will be armed. So they're going to be carrying firearms. And the supposed reason for this is because they are on the lookout for immigration fraud. So immigration issued an announcement saying that they were going to start hiring and training these new officers to carry handguns, basically, and to basically, I guess, look out for clients who are applying for immigration benefits, who immigration thinks are committing immigration fraud. And not only that, but USCIS said that they will also go after attorneys who help to prepare these applications. So this has really sent a kind of a shockwave just across like the community at large and also for immigration lawyers as well. Um, I think this is extremely alarming because traditionally USCIS only adjudicated applications, right? They basically decided whether or not to approve or deny various immigration applications, work visas, green cards, citizenship. Usually the enforcement arm of it was left to ICE. It's ICE's or CBP's job to decide whether to admit someone who's not a citizen into the US or not. And, traditionally it was ICE's job to make the decision whether or not to put someone into deportation proceedings. And all of that has now changed. USCIS is now becoming an enforcement agency. And, it's another sign that, this country is like headed towards just like a police state, in my opinion. Um, so why is this concerning? I mean, the thing is, there's a lot of issues that I am worried about. One is fraud. The legal definition of fraud is not just a simple, does someone commit fraud or not? There's a legal definition and a legal standard that immigration has to go by. Um, Fraud requires an intent on the part of the person. They have to knowingly commit fraud. They have to knowingly try to conceal something or misrepresent something to immigration. If something is does lacks this intent, then there is no fraud. Another element is that um, there has to be some kind of a material fact that someone lied to immigration about. So that's something that USCIS sometimes does not catch or does not realize. They think that if someone lied, then that's it, they've committed fraud. Oh, that's not the end of the inquiry. Um, it has to be a material fact that goes to the heart of the application that they are seeking. Um, so those are just a few things. The other issue that is concerning me is that, as immigration lawyers, a lot of the time we have to go by what the clients tell us, right? And there are times when attorneys don't know if a client has lied or misrepresented something about them. If I feel that a client is not being honest with me, or if I think that they're trying to hide something, I don't take those clients on, you know. So it's not so much that um, I'm worried that immigration will come after me because they will catch me at helping clients to commit fraud. That's not the issue. The issue is, what if immigration mistakenly believes that an attorney is helping a client to commit fraud or to further that fraud? Then that is sending a really chilling effect not only to clients who may have a totally legitimate um, uh, case and they're too afraid to come forward because they're afraid that they'll be arrested at the interview. And it also sends a chilling effect to attorneys whose job it is to advocate for clients who are seeking an immigration benefit. Um, it kind of puts a target, the bullseye on our backs. And for myself, I represent a lot of individuals and clients who are families. A lot of them are pursuing green cards or citizenship. And now we know that immigration is requiring interviews for these applications. So I go with my clients to the interviews just to make sure that everything goes okay. I also prep my clients to these interviews. And now, on top of all of this additional work, I have to worry that immigration might arrest me because they think that I'm helping a client to commit fraud. Like, that sounds insane when you really think about it. So that is, something that dropped yesterday. This is all on top of the other things that have been happening with immigration, including immigration's announcement a few days ago that for naturalization applications for citizenship, immigration will now start again this neighborhood check process. And what does that mean? So, a long time ago, I mean, decades ago, when someone applied for naturalization, immigration would, this is before I started practicing law, so I don't really have personal, confirmation. I can only go by what, immigration has said, but decades and decades ago, what they used to do was they would conduct these neighborhood checks and they would go to someone's neighborhood who was applying for, naturalization, and they would interview neighbors, family members, whoever they could find, I guess, and then try to confirm whether the person who was applying for citizenship is an upstanding member of the community or was there anything they should be concerned about, any kind of red flags. And apparently immigration stopped doing that. But now they've ramped that up again, so they say. They're going to start um, reviewing all naturalization applications with this kind of possible, conducting neighborhood interviews for every person who's applying for naturalization. So in the announcement that immigration made, they suggested that for anyone who's applying for naturalization, um, you might want to submit evidence up front that you have good moral character. Um, and there's a suggestion that if you don't include this evidence, that immigration might issue a request for evidence, otherwise known as an RFE. So I think for now, for any new clients that I have that are applying for naturalization, that's something I might consider suggesting my clients to do is to submit evidence up front that they're a good person. Immigration's press release didn't really give that many examples of what kind of evidence this might entail, but I'm thinking maybe affidavits from your friends, your relatives, your neighbors, your employers, confirming that you're a good person in the community. Do you volunteer? Do you do any kind of charity work? Um, are you a good employee? Um, I don't know. It's kind of like uh just kind of a very it's kind of like prove us that you're deserving and good enough to get citizenship. Um, so that's another thing. Another thing that happened, I think, in the last week is immigration announced that because of all the immigration judges that they've been firing or that they've kind of forced to quit because they made the job so difficult for the judges who were fair and doing a good job. Now there's all these vacancies. And of course, the deportation court case backlog is becoming more and more untenable. So now their great idea is that they're going to hire immigration judges with zero immigration law experience, which to me sounds like a recipe for disaster because immigration law is a really complicated area of law. Some would argue it's the most complicated, maybe besides tax. But even within immigration law, there's the subset of deportation, removal, which is, in my opinion, it's probably the most complicated area that you can practice in within immigration. A lot of immigration lawyers don't touch removal, deportation, just because the stakes are so high and it is really complicated. So to require that new judges can be hired with absolutely no previous immigration law exposure, much less experience with deportation matters, to me sounds like um, the intent behind it is just to try to deport as many people as possible, even if they have a valid claim to stay in the United States. Um, so those three things all happened in the last week, and they're going to no doubt have a huge effect on how immigration cases are going to be handled and how immigrants are going to be treated in terms of, you know, or whether or not they're going to get a fair shot at their immigration cases, whatever they are, whether it's asylum, whether it's green card, citizenship, deportation, and also for immigration lawyers as well. I mean, there's a lot of immigration lawyers that, um, you know, quite honestly, we're kind of going through the most difficult time in our practices. And I know that a lot of attorneys have expressed this, uncertainty about the future. And also a lot of immigration lawyers are just saying, I can't practice under this type of atmosphere anymore. It's too much. I mean, everything is stacked against you. Some attorneys are just transitioning over to other practices of law. Some are moving out of the country. Some are, I think, shifting and moving away from the more stressful cases, which are the detention and deportation areas, and moving into other areas that are less stressful. But I don't think there's a single type of immigration case that has not been affected by what's been happening under this administration. Even if you only practice family immigration law, things have gotten more difficult overall. Even if you only practice business immigration, employment-based green cards or work visas, if, USCIS is um, looking at all these cases much harsher, then you are looking at a higher percentage of cases being challenged, being issued requests for evidence or notices of intent to deny, and then ultimately not approved and being denied. So if you have a client whose work visa is denied, chances are now they have to scramble and figure out a way, if there even is a way, to stay in the United States. So it's causing a lot of disruption into people's lives, also their jobs. If your work visa is denied, then you lose your job. If you have a family, what do you do about your family who's here, depending on your income? So those are just some kind of three high level things that happened in the last week, which is having a major, major impact on immigration.